Hello there. This morning I want to talk about quite a popular subject. Are we alone in the universe? In recent years there's been a lot of discussion about UFOs, about alien life. You see a lot more from NASA, a lot more in the mainstream release of footage, particularly from the Americans, discussion of unidentified flying objects. No admission that these are necessarily alien, but just accepting the existence of UFOs has become more mainstream, a lot more mainstream. And you're starting to get a lot more reports from astronomers, scientists, etc., speculating about the existence of life on other planets. So it makes me wonder, why is this happening now? Why, at this particular time in history, are all these people who've been denying the existence of UFOs or the possibility of alien life, other than in sort of fantasy and sci-fi, suddenly edging towards, I suppose that the term that people like to use is disclosure. And I would be inclined to think that no, we are not alone in the universe. Although it's quite a difficult thing for many people to accept, because of cultural conditioning, I suppose that would be the term to use, mostly religious. But if you think about it, firstly from a scientific point of view, we do know for sure that the Earth is round, and the Earth revolves around the Sun. Now, this was heresy. This was considered scandalous not really that long ago. We're only talking about the Middle Ages. Copernicus and Galileo got into a lot of trouble over this. But the ancient Greeks before had proved that the Earth is round and measured fairly accurately the curvature of the Earth. If you go back a lot further, the Sumerians were aware not only that the Earth orbited around the Sun, but they were aware of star systems, and star maps have been found. Some of them referring to the position of stars as far back as 3,300 BC. That's well over 5,000 years ago. So the idea of the Earth being flat was something that was introduced. Various cultures around the world believe the Earth is flat. That's part of Jewish culture that made it into mainstream European thinking and Christianity about the flat Earth. Although, as I said, the Sumerians knew a long time before that we live on a globe. Various other cultures, some in Africa that claim to have had contact with star people, and in Native American tradition, the same thing. They also believed that the world was a globe, and they were aware that we have a star which is close to us, and there are other stars. To my thinking, it's quite easy to connect the idea of a huge shining ball being close to us, and the other shining balls are just very similar but a long way off. That would make a lot of sense to me. But there are all kinds of bizarre theories about what stars were, rather than actually accepting that they were other suns. So we had this view of the world for a very long time, I suppose the bones of 2,000 years, really, and still people who believe it today, that the Earth is the center of the universe, that humanity is the pinnacle of existence, that the Earth is flat, that the sun revolves around the Earth, etc. Even though science and just common sense would tell you that that's not true. And we now know that we are one very small planet in a pretty small solar system, a very average sun. It's not particularly big. And we're sort of making our way very, very slowly through what we call the Milky Way, which is the galaxy that we are in, which again is not a particularly impressive galaxy. But even this galaxy has somewhere in the region of 400 billion stars within it. That's just an estimate. The scientists cannot possibly measure all of the stars within the Milky Way. But that's a huge number. And if you think about how many galaxies there are billions upon billions of galaxies. So the number of stars is, well, to human interpretation, really infinite. It's such a large number, it's incomprehensible. And we do know that pretty much all of these stars have planets circulating around them. Who knows? I've never heard of a star that had no planets, but maybe that's possible. I assume it probably is possible. But some of these planets will have similar conditions to Earth. And of course, our definition of what is habitable may not necessarily be correct. We make assumptions about carbon-based life forms, about the requirement for oxygen, the requirement for water, etc., etc. Those appear to be the rules of life on our planet. But there are exceptions even here. At the bottom of oceans, there are sulfur dioxide breathing microorganisms that form like a mold eventually. And they don't require any oxygen, they don't require any light. They live off the vents from volcanoes. So even on our planet there are exceptions. So I would think to dismiss the existence of life elsewhere in the universe is just ridiculous. Purely from a scientific point of view, the probability of us being alone is infinitesimal. But I think culturally people find that still very difficult to accept. We've been conditioned for so long to believe that we are the masters of the universe, we are the pinnacle of his existence, and the phrase about God creating humanity in his own image is one that's been hugely misinterpreted. That phrase is really kind of based in the Kabbalah, really, in the sense that in Jewish tradition, an idealized version of all existence exists in heaven. So for the perfect cow, in heaven there is the actual perfect cow, and all manifestations of cows are based on this one. So people assumed that when talking about humanity, that this image of humanity is what God looks like. I would interpret it more as the Creator may have had this blueprint of humanity, just like the cow, which is perfect, and all humans are based on that blueprint, rather than actually God, whether it's male, female, or whatever. I imagine it's beyond gender, beyond any kind of human perception. the Creator creates all things based on a perfect ideal, which through various problems, you could say, in manifestation, there's lots of theological questions and reasons around why the world isn't perfect, which I won't go into. But you'll find some information about that in the Gnostic Gospel of John, which is not part of the main Bible, actually. Very much based on pre-Christian thought in many ways. But, so this idea that we are created sort of from this idealized version of being a perfect being, modelled on what God is like, I think that's complete nonsense. And that has given rise to maybe this belief that we are the centre of the universe and we're incredibly important. Whereas I think in reality we are one species on this planet, which is one planet amongst billions, and amongst probably billions that are populated by other beings, which in reality, given the vastness of the universe, are no less important than our planet. And in fact, it may be that we are an unimportant, obscure little planet in the corner of a dull part of the universe, for all we know. We just don't know this, because we are trapped here on this planet, unable to travel across the stars as yet. Perhaps that being a good thing, given the immaturity of humanity. But nonetheless, we are stuck in a theoretical situation where we can't experiment, we cannot prove any of our theories about the existence of extraterrestrial life. We can only talk about it in terms of probabilities. And then, of course, the cultural conditioning of religion steers us away from the possibility of extraterrestrial life, because of this dogma that we are the most important creatures in this universe, modelled after God. When I think about it, it's quite an infantile way of looking at the world, because the universe obviously is far more vast than we could ever have imagined. And if there is a God, the God created everything, the entire cosmos, not just us and our tiny little solar system. So I think gradually there is a move away towards the acceptance of what people say when they say they've seen a UFO or they've had an encounter. And I mean, in the not too distant past, people were ridiculed for describing experiences of abduction or encounters with UFOs, with aliens. And we do know that fossilized microscopic life has been found on Mars. It may well be that a lot more has been found that is as yet undisclosed by any of the space agencies that have ventured to the inner reaches of our solar system, the Moon and Mars in particular. So what scientists actually do know isn't fully disclosed, but ancient bacteria has been found, which would be indicative that the possibility of life elsewhere is not only possible but is proven, at least historically. So, getting back to my original question, are we alone in the universe? I would have to say, no, we are not. And I personally believe it's only a matter of time before we will have proof of this. So, anyway, thank you for listening. I hope you found it interesting. If you have anything to say on the subject, feel free to leave a comment. And if you enjoyed what I had to say, please click the like button and feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see more of my videos. That's all for now. Bye-bye.